I shifted from love is the meaning of life, which I had at a young age, to money is the meaning of life. And I very quickly opened my first business, painting driveways, started making money. I was making $2,000 a month when I was 9, 10, 11 years old. What's funny is people value businesses in an interesting way. Like they value them far more if they're automated. My wealth is compounded. My businesses have grown, some of them geometrically, as a result of learning the automation stuff. My largest company is production home building, which the economy is very generous to, thankfully. Create a model that creates problem, solution, process, and sets it into kind of that regenerative growth manner. Every business has the same goal, efficiency. You don't have a problem with any market if you are efficient. There's more revenue in candles than when they were used for light. The goal is, if you're efficient, then you're always riding the market no matter where it's going. This made me filthy rich, and I recommend it to everyone.
Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef, and I'm thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to get tremendous value from the gentleman I'm interviewing today. His name's Preston Brown, and not only is Preston in a lot of doors, about 3,000 doors in multifamily, both as a general partner and a limited partner, but he's got 18 businesses, many of them real estate related, if not all of them real estate related, and significant revenue from those businesses. He's also an automation expert. So very excited to get into it with him. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Good. So why don't you do a much better job of introducing yourself than I just did and talk a little bit about your history and maybe bring us current, and then we'll get into having some fun Q&A here.
Sure, yeah. Business guy, happened to also be a real estate guy, doing tons of revenue, and people always love the story when they hear the ending. And my thought is people judge the story by the ending, and you should never do that unless you hear it from the beginning. I was a 7, 8, maybe 9-year-old kid. I'm not great on past dates. When my dad, from the little trailer park we lived in Canutillo, Texas, decided I want the life we have on TV, not the one that we live in this little trailer. And he opened a business. He became an entrepreneur. Guy was a member of Mensa, genius. He was brilliant guy. And he didn't understand some of the simple fundamentals, frameworks that are a must in the business world. And of course, where he went out and did what he did, the metallurgical engineer, making things for people, designing things. He didn't understand billing. He didn't understand collecting. He didn't understand charging. My mom was still in school. We were broke. He wasn't college educated, so he wasn't the expert, if you want. He was the operations guy. And, what happens when you open a business you don't know how to bill is things run out of money real quick. And when I was young, tons of love, not a lot of money. The fight came. The cast iron frying pan flew across the room. I don't remember all the words that were said, but I remember it being different from normal. And the words I do remember was, go collect what you're owed or don't come home. And I went with Dad, and we went up to a house not far from where I live now. And I watched this guy. Dad's 6'4", star football player from his high school team. And here comes this guy all at 5'9". My dad could kill him with a napkin. And I knew how it was going to go. It was going to go with my dad demanding what he was owed, and we were going to go home and put the food on the table, and everything was going to be fine. But it didn't go that way. It went with asking, came from demanding, and turned very quickly into almost begging. And I watched Dad. I watched the shoulders go forward. I watched him compromise. He took a wad of cash from this guy's wallet. We went to Smith's, it's in Albertsons now, and then we drove back home. I got to ride there with ramen noodles on my lap with my dad not telling me what happened. But it shifted me, and I shifted from love is the meaning of life, which I had at a young age, to money is the meaning of life. And I very quickly opened my first business, painting driveways, started making money. I was making a few grand a month when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, that time frame, walking up and down, lying to everybody about the fire department wants you to do this. But I made money, and they thought it was cute, so whatever, right? And I got into business, and I became the corporate cutthroat character. I became the, if you liked, if you thought Donald Trump was harsh, you would have thought I was a 10x asshole over that guy. Turned into the shit father, never had time for my kids. Turned into the shit husband, never made time for my wife. And made a lot of money, built some big companies. 2019, worst day of my life and the best day of my life hit on the same day. I got a call from my brother-in-law, and I built some fairly large companies at this point, and he said, hey, dude, you need to come home. Your dad's gone. And it'd been a weird day. I asked, where did he go? But I already knew the answer to the question, and he said, dude, you need to come. And I went over there, and And I got to see Dad laying there on the floor. What was left, like it wasn't him. It was a body that looked like him, and my world collapsed. My entire world collapsed because I'd spent my entire life focused on growth, focused on scaling, focused on money, and I'd never spent it with my hero, the man that made me who I was. So the most important day of my life was losing him, which brought back the love is the meaning of life part that I had before. But sitting in that room, I had to ask questions. I had to look at my mom, who regal, beautiful woman that was broken, looked more like some creature from Lord of the Rings than the woman that she was. I had to look at my sister. I had to look at all of my family sitting there, and everybody's broken. And the one thing I did have that was good is I had that entrepreneur spirit. I had the ability to accept problems, take them on, and challenge. And I remember doing stupid shit. I was remodeling my mom's house, helping my sister buy a house, anything I could do to just get our minds off of that and work through that. And, you know, I over enough time, and, you know, reference this, I wound up 2-3, or maybe a month later, I wind up at a Tony Robbins event, and I wind up listening to Tony. I'd missed the entire event. It was Date with Destiny. It was like Platinum or Lions Group or whatever, and sitting there at the front row, and he's talking to a gal a few rows behind me, and he says, "You're not suffering in the fact. You're suffering in the perception of the fact." And I've been to a lot of his events, but not a Date with Destiny. I wrote it down, but I didn't know what it meant, and thank God she didn't either. And he looked at her and he said, "You're not suffering because your loved one's gone." This is the first thing I heard. I sat there in the entire event. I missed the whole freaking thing except this piece and what came after, which was perfect. He said, "You're not suffering because your loved one's gone. You're suffering because you expect them to still be here." And I wrote down expectations are the mother of all suffering, and I started shifting things. I started shifting away from growth. I started shifting away from scaling. I started shifting towards I fell back in love. I was no longer mad at God for taking Dad, mad at me for not spending time, or mad at him for leaving. I was focused on how do I spend time with my loved ones. And it brought me to this beautiful process of automating companies instead of scaling companies. And I mean, that was 2019, and I was probably worth 8, 10, maybe 12, 15 million, depending on the banker you talk to at that point in time. And what's funny is people value businesses in an interesting way. Like, they value them far more if they're automated. My wealth is compounded. My businesses have grown, some of them geometrically, as a result of learning the automation steps, as a result of programming that in. And so now I'd like people, I don't want people to avoid the hard parts of their life, but I want people to maybe go through them quicker. Don't waste so much time. Making money is really easy, but you don't have to be the shit husband, the shit father, or lose someone to find the goal, if that makes sense.
This is exactly what I teach to my warriors, my coaching students. You know, I tell the story about coming home to my kids every day, but not being there mentally, being distracted, focused on success, have to prove the world I'm good enough, have to prove the world I matter, and I missed out on a lot of their growth. I mean, they'll tell you I was a great dad, but I missed out on so many things for that same very reason, that need to be successful. You know, we talk, in this country, we feel like to be happy we have to be successful and or have to have achieved. If you're focused on what matters, the people that you love, the people you care about, and or you're giving back, you're happily achieving. That's quite a story. So you're an automation expert. I'd love to drill down a little bit on, I know you've said you've got companies that do real estate brokerage, real estate lending, real estate acquisitions. I forgot what else.
My largest company is production home building.
Okay.
Which the economy is very generous to, thankfully.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Especially in Texas
talk about
and Florida.
some of the things that you automate, if you would, just to give a little more color to this conversation around automation. Maybe give some examples of what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, sure. I create formulas, simple, easy, clean formulas, so that people can use them to create a better vehicle. A business is nothing more than a vehicle.
Right.
If you get in a car to go to the grocery store or walk to the grocery store, one thing's always true. You got to the grocery store. The thing that changes is the time to get there. A business is that. The business, any business, your business, my business, all of our businesses have the same goal, right? Sell a product. If you're selling a product, well, what are people buying? They're buying a solution to a problem, right? So what we have to do is create a model that creates that problem solution process and sets it into kind of that regenerative growth manner. So it's a vehicle for duplicating yourself, your time, your energy, your expertise, everything, and creating a communication machine. Like I say, I'm a home builder, right? Like people ask, oh, what do you do? Well, I'm a home builder. Okay. But look at these lily white hands. You think I've lifted a hammer? I mean, I've lifted one, but not in quite a while. I'm not building the home. I've created a communication machine that knows how to work with the bank on getting the construction loan, that knows how to work with the dirt work contractor on doing the lot, that knows how to work with the concrete guy, the framer, and everybody else in between, all the way to the realtors and the loan officers and the sales agents at a title company to get the process finalized with the buyer taking over the ownership. I mean, all it is communication bridges in every single area. So when you're automating, the first step is you got to know, where is your business today? Because most entrepreneurs, they're not generally doing the wrong thing. They're doing the right thing at the wrong stage. Like if somebody goes out and they're saying, hey, airplanes are a great tax write-off. Okay, well, that's true if done right. And you should certainly not be doing that at some of the lower stages of entrepreneurship. If you're a startup, you have plenty of expenses right there that can be used and leveraged as you're growing the company. You don't need a write-off, right? If you're in that operational entrepreneur, kind of that management by crisis, even that low operational megapreneur where you're going through scaling, you don't need the distraction. Doesn't mean you don't need the write-off, but you can probably find it somewhere else in your machine. So you're solving the right problem at the wrong stage of business development. If you're looking to figure out who your target customer is, and you're doing that at Megapreneur, well, then you're helping everybody, and your margins are going to be garbage. You needed to do that right in the startup phase.
Well,
right?
Megapreneur is one of your stages of a business?
Yeah. So I've categorized, and I think everybody's got this. I mean, you could probably go and find this with like Grant Cardone's group, Tony Robbins' group, but I built this formula for efficiency.
Okay.
And I realized people were screwing it up. Okay. And they were screwing up the formula for efficiency because the formula is just a problem-solving formula, and they would solve the right problems at the wrong stages. And so you need to first figure out your stage, regardless of which
business,
model.
where your business stage is.
Where is your business at today
Right.
is step one. What are your single largest problems that you need to solve today is step two. And then you can take this simplified formula and literally solve any problem that comes up. I have a belief that problems are gifts.
You going to share the formula or
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, let's hear it.
So every business has the same goal.
Right.
Efficiency.
Revenue? Efficiency. Okay, fine.
Efficiency.
All right.
Okay. You don't have a problem with any market if you are efficient. There are more candles sold now than when they were used for lighting. Okay. There's more revenue in candles than when they were used for lighting. There's more revenue in horses than when people rode them to work. Different market. Now they're race horses and all this, but the players changed. The game changed, but the revenue's only grown. We can go into inflation, this, that, and the other. But the goal is, if you're efficient, then you're always riding the market no matter where it's going.
Okay.
You're like the surfer on the wave. Efficiency has three core, let's say, pillars that make it up: alignment, simplicity, and foresight.
Right.
You're not going to improve simplicity without compromising alignment generally, and you're not going to improve alignment without compromising simplicity. The thing is, the compromises are temporary. Okay. When you're improving alignment, like if you're thinking, oh, I need to improve my alignment with my customers, well, all your customers have different needs. Like your customers that buy your products are one financial transaction, right? But what about the like my bankers that I borrow money from? They're my customers.
Right.
Like, my lenders, my vendors, my trades,
And guys, those of you listening, investors could fall into this category as well. You need alignment with them. You need alignment with brokers. You need alignment with lenders, like he just described. So, yeah.
They're all customers. If
Right.
you have a financial transaction, they're a customer, and you're their customer. I mean, there's an exchange. There's a transfer of action. That's what transaction means, right? And so you can't improve alignment with your bank without compromising it with one of your trades or maybe your end user customer or somebody. So you're always going to compromise simplicity somewhere. And so you have to kind of always be rebuilding the machine. You're always looking at what's the biggest problem? How do I solve that? And then solve the problem that caused that. Okay. And
use automation for this. You try to automate as much of this as you can. Have you gotten into AI with it yet?
oh yeah, we're building. We have a program called Z Builder that we're working with now. We'll eventually take it to market, and it's phenomenal. We were actually able because we developed the original model on Excel, and we had machine learning, which is like AI's grandparent, right? Like people don't realize AI is like 80 years old.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The first computers that beat Bobby Fischer were machine learning computers, which is like the grandparent of AI. So we had machine learning watching things, and we were able to predict that single family home pricing was going to go through the roof because of that.
Interesting.
And so we started raising our prices to our capacity when we bought our home building company. Like it was funny. All the builders, they either raised their earnest money or they said, oh no, COVID's going to do this. We had some machine learning, which was way stupider than what we have now going. And so we measured it to our capacity, what we could build, what we could frame. We brought everything to the lowest constraint. And at that point it was framing. We could not build more than 20 homes at a time. And so as we were seeing sales do this, we couldn't expand framing up, right? We said, well, shoot, what do we do? Well, let's slow it down. Well, you can adjust what? Price, place, people, product, promotion, or process, right? These are the dials that you have in a business. And so we're like, well, just raise the price. So we raised our price in El Paso, Texas, which is not a high price market, by about $150,000 by the time everybody was seeing the news on lumber going up and all of this.
Wow.
So through that time, our margins are going through the roof, and you will get the negative feedback. You'll hear everybody, oh yeah, you're evil, you're corporate greed, this, that, the other. None of them said shit when their appraisals didn't justify their sales, and they all had to take their homes on the market or refinance them as rentals. And we went from one of many builders to the largest builder overnight. So if people, anyway, to go to your AI comment, my biggest benefits have not been AI, but I think they might be in a year or two when we take this new product we're using to market. My biggest benefits were actually machine learning, which is still so freaking smart. And any mid-grade software developer can probably make you a machine learning engine.
Really?
Oh, it's if you have a good database engineer that has something for it to learn off of.
Got to have the data, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has to be framed.
Can you buy the data? Get the data? What? I'm just curious. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because might be losing people as this relates to multifamily investing. But
you can buy data. You can create data. Most businesses have far more data than they realize already in, and if they can just use their data, cross-pollinate it against their data, they'll improve efficiency. Like that machine learning. I mean, if you're,
so this whole improving efficiency, you're looking at. Like, is it eliminating humans as much as possible and automating the pieces?
No. So I'll tell you this, Rob. AI has nothing on I am. Okay. The ability to think and change the way you think and question and the ability to cross-pollinate your mind and your emotions, which AI does not have, makes you far smarter than any number crunching machine. So you're never going to eliminate humans. Some humans will eliminate themselves if they stop thinking, but no. Efficiency is about creating the most output and throughput within a machine. And you keep mentioning apartments and multifamily and all this, and which is kind of an industry that, it is an industry that I think is done great a few years ago. It's having some struggles right now where people are having some trouble with the floating debt issues, which is going to lead to some huge opportunities.
That's what I've been shouting from the rooftops. Yeah.
I want to just put this in because I know you have a lot of guys that talk multifamily, and if they understand how to connect the dots on efficiency in their business to the investment to what multifamily represents, it is going to be one of the biggest fucking asset classes to ride up on the planet. People don't think about the value. I mean, I'm still buying anything with bedrooms, anything. And I'll tell you why. People look at the market and they're like, oh, it's rough. The rates are high. Well, we had 5 million too few units in America in 2018 with bedrooms for families. Okay. We have still not been able to keep up with new production of units. Through COVID, when there was demand, there was not enough trades. We've told everybody to become a tech entrepreneur or a servicepreneur, and nobody has become the plumber, the electrician we need to make more units and replace, right? You factor that 5 million unit shortage that we then found we couldn't keep up with to what's happened with the migration and more the illegal immigration coming across the border, which is not counted into the numbers. But you can't get rid of all these people. I know it's a big political campaign
they're
right
in,
now.
They're
going to deport them all. No, they're not.
I've heard 11 million is a number I heard thrown around.
I've heard that, and I've heard as high as 18 million.
No kidding.
And
this is just the illegals. Not even. Yeah, and we already had a housing shortage.
We already had a housing shortage.
Right.
So you can go and factor that there might be a 15 million unit disparity today.
Yeah.
This could be true. We don't know because we don't know how many.
Well, they're putting them up. They're putting them up in hotels probably till the election. Then they're on the street. But they're putting them up in hotels in New York and Chicago and everywhere else. But
and they're not going to deport them.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
I will tell you this.
Yeah.
And this will be controversial.
Oh no, Trump says he's going to deport them, but how do you find them? I mean,
you can't.
Right.
Hitler
exactly.
would have deported the Jews.
Right. Exactly.
He would have.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
You don't want to go through the negative press.
Right.
For anything. So you're not going to deport them. What's going to happen is you're going to have two choices. We're not going to kill them. That's
Right.
choice one.
Right.
Or you absorb them.
That's
which
it.
means we're going to have to absorb them in some way, shape, or form in our country because we could not afford.
And they have to have a place to live. Bottom line.
At the end of the day, poly means multiple and ticks means blood-sucking arachnids, right? So politics is a root word. I look at any politician and I think what they're really after is votes. So if I'm a multifamily guy and I look at what's real, not the politics, which is that third indicator in economics.
Right.
If I want to study economics, Rod, supply and demand in the long term, supply, demand, and government in the short term. There's either two influences to economics or three. If you're in the multifamily space and you figure out the efficiency formula, now you will be a billionaire.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bold statement. You will be a billionaire if you figure out not just multifamily as an asset class, but the business of multifamily.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I was looking for more detail on the efficiency, but you gave me good, a framework for it, and I know that.
Let me make the efficiency formula simple in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
You take a problem and you throw it in the top. Okay, that problem, no different than putting a ball in one of those things with pins, is going to have to sort itself down through this filter to the bottom. Okay,
Right.
Business is really easy. There's one goal, efficiency. That equals three things: alignment, simplicity, and foresight. Okay, foresight, it's like when you're driving a car, you want to be able to look through the window and see where you're going.
Right.
In the long term, foresight can become forecasting, but you really don't need to worry about that until your revenue is greater than $50 million. Okay. Once you have said, okay, my problem is alignment, simplicity, or foresight, then you know where to go with it. If it's foresight, that's what we're dealing with. If it's alignment and simplicity, the twin sisters of optimization, that's what we're dealing with. Normally it's both. It can be all three, but it's rare. Then you need to look at the next stage of the formula. What do I need to address? What are the four pillars, like legs on a table, that hold up that surface on a table that is alignment, simplicity, and foresight? Those are like 3 glasses of water sitting on the table. There's 4 legs to the table: culture, clarity, capacity, cash. These are the 4 areas of your business where you can have
culture, clarity, capacity, and cash.
Yes.
Okay.
Culture, so that I can remove anybody from bad thinking,
Okay.
is behavioral moderation.
Okay.
Okay. It's not,
No, that's
free
a
stuff.
great
It's not
description
this.
of culture. Actually, I've never heard that before. Behavioral modification. That's great.
So you said you've done some Tony Robbins stuff.
A lot of Tony
So
stuff.
identity, right? Your identity is who you are. It's who you get to
Right.
be. It's also the prison of who you're stuck being unless you learn how to learn. Correct? Culture is nothing more than identity of a business. Your identity dictates your patterns, dictates your behaviors. Your culture in a business, it's sort of like psychology, individual, sociology, group.
Right.
Your culture dictates your decisions as a group.
Yep.
Okay? So it's behavioral moderation for the group.
Okay.
Okay? Clarity, it's understanding. It's the willingness to learn and, more importantly, communicate. It's I'll give you a paradox that I love.
Not understanding who? Your client, your customer?
Everything.
Everything.
Your
Okay. So
goal
clarity
of
around the
learning.
whole business. Got it.
So I like to go on thought journeys.
Okay.
And when I say thought journey, I don't mean plant medicine. I don't mean drugs. I know you can't say journey anymore without somebody worrying about what you're doing. Thought journey for me is I like to think about paradoxes. Paradoxes, I can always generally find truth in a paradox. Can God create a rock so big that God cannot lift the rock? And the answer is yes. And the answer is also no, right? So is there a difference? This is my new thought journey. Is there a difference between protecting someone from the truth and protecting the truth from someone?
I have to think through that for a second. Protecting someone from the truth or protecting the truth from someone.
Let me give you a horrible example
Okay.
that will be politically incorrect and it'll
That's all right.
frustrate some of your listeners and others will love it.
That's all right.
So I had a buddy in high school and his girlfriend said, "Do you think this dress makes me look fat?" And I don't recommend his answer to anyone, but the answer was interesting. He said, "Girl, why are you blaming it on the dress?" He's no longer with that girl. Okay? Now, that, had he been a gentleman, he could have protected her from the truth and said, "No, babe, you always look great," right? He did not. He chose against it. Sometimes you should be dishonest. White lies are not necessarily always bad.
Right.
White lies are to protect somebody from their emotions, okay? But when you're protecting the truth from somebody, you are preventing them from finding what they need. If she were to ask you, "Are there any fat people in old folks' homes?" and you protect her from figuring out that maybe she should find a way to dial in her health. Maybe she should find a way to make herself better. She's going to die young because you're an asshole. So in business, 9 times out of 10, you have to understand that there's no white lies in business. There's just truth and lie. Truth and lie. That's it. There are no white lies in business. There is in your marriage. There is in your family. You know, Santa Claus is real for kids, right? Sure. But in business, there's no white lies. Do not protect me from the truth. Do not protect the truth from me. Let me find what's real. When you find the truth, you become efficient. When you become efficient, everything gets easier. And so, does that?
No, that makes a lot of sense, which is why we survey our students, we survey our warriors, just to try to get to that truth as best we can, to try to speak in their language and find their pain points and
Clarity.
and desires and so on and so forth. And so that's clarity.
The single greatest skill anyone can have is becoming an incredible learner. And so clarity is the process of, and I love the way you put it, speaking somebody else's language. When I became a home builder, I didn't become a home builder. I became a translator. I had to learn plumber, cementero, electrician. I had to learn all of these different languages that were nuanced in different ways with different things and had different terminology and different problems. And when I spoke the language of their problems, then all of a sudden we had rapport. Then we could create lasting solutions and we could explain how we were, I'm compromising your simplicity to grow your alignment. Well, once you understand the 4 C's, culture, clarity, capacity, and cash, you go into decisions you can make. There's only 6. In business, there's only 6 things you can do with any problem. In, my wife, if she wants to change her makeup and be a different girl on Friday night than she is on Sunday morning, she can. She's got 150 dials in her makeup drawer. My business has 6. I can adjust price, product, people, place, promotion, and process. These are the only 6 things you can adjust.
One more time. Price,
Product, people, place, promotion,
okay,
and process.
and
And the last one, I say it last because you should highlight it, and if you wear lipstick, kiss it.
Okay.
That is the way of solving the problem that caused the problem. Many people, most people, whether they're in investments, whether they're in business, they're bouncing from crisis to crisis. That's because they solved the problem at hand, not the problem that caused the problem
They treat
at
the
hand.
symptom, not the cause.
Exactly. And it's prevalent in almost every stage of entrepreneurship. As you grow, you know, startups, right? They're like little babies. Do you schedule with a baby when they're going to take a shit and you should change their diaper? No. You
don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You could schedule a lot better at all the other stages, but you can't there. So every different stage has its problems and you need to address at each stage. So if you take your problem, once you've identified your stage, put it through the formula, it's real simple. You know what to do. Excuse me. If you train your team on the formula, okay, then they're going to be able to ask you better questions. They're going to know what the outcomes are. Like, how are you going to get to the desired outcome? Like everybody in business wants the same thing, and people don't think about this. We all want the same thing. We all want certainty of success, right? Like if you own a company, you want certainty of success. What does your customer want? Certainty of success. What does your employee want? Certainty of success. How do you make the employees certainty of success that, hey, I've got a compelling future, I've got friends at work, I make good money, I've got all these different things aligned to your certainty of success that, you know what, I want a great business, I'd love for it to be automated one day, I'd like to have great revenue, if I sold it, I could exit it at X value. You can align those two. How do you align that to your employees? How do you align that to your customer that's actually buying the product? When you start finding the little nooks and crannies where those things link, the cogs that make them gears in the same machine, you create automation. And everything can be automated.
I mean, I'm thinking SWOT analysis as you're evaluating, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And I've used that for businesses. I've not used your formula here, but it's got a lot of merit. I remember a previous large company I had, and I'm sitting through these 4 C's: culture, capacity, clarity, and cash, and I can see how they all apply. Certainly, culture, capacity, and clarity. Is the cash is just your cash is the obvious answer there?
No. So capacity ends at cash. Okay. Capacity. There's 4 flows to what I call capacity. There's lead flow, sales flow, deal flow, and cash flow. Right.
Okay.
And when we're looking at lead flow, sales flow, deal flow, and cash flow, you're talking marketing, which is not the same as sales. Then you have to deliver, which is not the same as marketing or sales. And then you have to receive your cash, right? Well, there's different ways to talk about cash. You can do cash accounting, you can do accrual accounting, you can do this, side, the other. But the languages of cash are also interesting. Like, people don't understand returns. Right. I have had people with hundreds of millions in revenue sit and tell me about their ROI. And ask them how much they invested in their business. They're like, oh, it was about 10 grand in a garage 20 years ago. And I'm like, why are we talking about the return on your investment?
Right.
That sounds so maximized that your languaging is poor.
Right.
One of the biggest problems we have in this country is we language everything right. I mean, do we believe that Fauci was science? If not, then let's fucking language better, right?
Oh, okay.
You have return on investment.
You went there.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I feel the
Poly
same
means
way.
multiple. Ticks means blood sucking arachnids, right? He was a politician, not a scientist.
Right.
So return on investment needs to shift to return on marketing. If you are looking at your return on investment after you've already gotten 100% back, then you're just stroking yourself.
Oh, that's just stupid.
Return on marketing is cost of customer acquisition.
Right.
If I know that it costs me $13,000 to get a customer on a product that makes me $150,000,
it's a no-brainer.
How many times can I rinse repeat?
What about the same thing? We're dealing with that right now, and we're marketing for investors in one of the assets we have under contract, and that's exactly what I'm monitoring. What's it cost to get a phone call? What's it cost to have a phone call with someone? And we know how many of those people actually take action and invest in the deal. So this is just one of those metrics that you measure.
So let's go into 6 returns. Let me give them to you real quick, and that way, because you'll probably get some questions.
Okay.
Return on investment, and your paradox is return on marketing, because they do need to switch.
Right.
You have to have return on balance sheet equity, okay, and return on debt. Oh. Those two, if you want the perfect scaling trajectory for your industry, your debt and your equity is the target. If you have 10 million in debt and 10 million in equity, and we can go into all sorts of reasons around it in an arbitrage economy where gold doesn't back the dollar, then you are scaling with the best in your fucking industry. Okay.
Why is return on debt relevant?
Because we live, and this is going in further to economics, which is, we could probably do an entire 10 podcasts on this. We live in an arbitrage economy. Okay. When we shifted away from gold backing the dollar, then the Federal Reserve was the hammer.
So you're talking about the value of the debt and how it's discounted and whatnot. That's where we're going with this? Okay.
We're talking about markets and how they work and how they underwrite, how they work with this thing called money, which has changed. If the Fed was a hammer, the Fed never changed. The nail that used to be the dollar became a screw.
Right.
And so we never changed the hammer. We didn't buy a drill. Right. We now have a hammer hitting a screw. And so what did the business world do when the politicians and the bureaucrats running our government changed one thing but not another? We adapted. We became an arbitrage model. The reason you could raise interest rates back in the 1970s and 80s to like 18%, and you can't
when I started
now,
it was 18%.
Right. But you couldn't do that now. Because back then, the businesses did not have debt.
Right.
Why? Because it would have been stupid to have debt the way the money system worked. We changed the system. So that gave us a clue. And that clue is, if you want to scale your company, the perfect metric, I'm not saying the only metric, but the perfect metric is when your balance sheet equity in your company and your debt are the same, your trajectory for your industry
is up.
Is perfect. Now, you can have much more debt and much lower equity, but that means that your risk to reward ratio is off balance.
Skewed. Sure. If you're over, it's called over leverage. If
and
you're
you can
over
have
leveraged, right.
a lot more equity and not a lot of debt, and you can actually tie this to your age. Like if you're 60 or 70, you might want less debt and more equity.
Sure.
But if you're 30, Well, why not have a little more debt? You're going to build more equity using more debt. But if you want to balance and be safe regardless of the economy in an efficient way, balance sheet equity and debt.
Interesting.
Same.
Very interesting.
And then what about return on emotion and return on time?
Return on emotion.
And return on time.
Okay, help me understand return on emotion. That one doesn't. Yeah.
So we started kind of you Q&Aing with me before the podcast because you wanted to ask good questions, which I loved because this is why you're a great podcaster. You make sure that you know what you're doing first. Why are you not coaching? Like you said, oh, you owned a coaching company, or are you selling a coaching product? I was like, no, I don't like coaching. Not because I haven't done it. I've done a shitload of it, but I got out of it because I was coaching millionaires. I had 4 billionaire clients. I don't want to fucking coach them. I don't want to go run their teams.
Right.
I wanted to help guys like me. I wanted to find people that couldn't afford the high-end coach and show them that you can fucking do it too. It didn't feel right. Not that I didn't help them, not that I didn't make a lot of friends. I've got a lot of great friends from that, and I'm glad I did it.
Right.
But I wouldn't keep doing it. Emotionally, I was not called. I think if you're living your purpose, then you absolutely love what you're fucking doing.
Agreed.
Now, I don't love building homes. So my return on emotion is terrible with that business, so I automated it.
Got it.
I automated the business. My time must go where my emotional returns are.
I got it. Now I get it. Okay, I wasn't tracking you. It's really your lifestyle we're talking about here.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm a coach. I've got 1,500 one-on-one students around the country. So
but
that's
you
what
love
I do.
it.
And I love the hell out of it.
And you're good at it.
And I get love every single day. My students own, I think, pushing 200,000 units.
And your reputation's a 10 out of 10 for it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did
so there's
before I
100% return on emotion there for sure. Okay, because I absolutely love it. I'm passionate about it. Now I understand. So what was the other piece? Return on?
So return on emotion and return on time.
Oh, time.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, that's efficiency for sure. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Return on emotion and return on time are kind of the paradox. Return on income or return on investment and return on marketing are the paradox. Okay. Return on balance sheet equity, return on debt, that's the paradox. You always find a paradox, you find truth. Like, religion's probably a great way to avoid hell. Spirituality is going there, conquering the motherfucker, and coming back victorious, right? So, like, you have to get, like, spiritual in your business and go and study your problem. Find out where the paradox is. If there wasn't something that was beyond our understanding, we wouldn't need any faith anyway. And so we have to find that piece and get all the way up to there. Sometimes you learn enough that you actually get a little more understanding. Does that make sense? So I'm always digging, where's the paradox? What's the counterbalance? How do I maximize to there? That's automation.
Okay. Interesting. So, so are you the CEO in most of these businesses, or you what role?
I have a co-CEO.
Co-CEO. Okay. Well, let's talk about leadership for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna get into culture. Oh, this is so fun.
Yeah. No, I love culture, and I had a lot of fun with it at a big company that I had, a lifetime ago. But what qualities do you feel like a leader should possess? A good leader. It's an extraordinary leader.
So a leader must be let me go to the most important. I mean, communication is a huge one, and that's where I was going to go first. But I think the most important quality of a leader is you've got to be dangerous. Okay. If you are not dangerous, then you cannot lead.
So tell me what you mean by that, because that's people are going to be scratching their heads.
Yeah, sure. So my job at my companies is to create safety. Okay, it is an enormous human need. People don't qualify it as a human need, but if it wasn't a human need, COVID would not have sent us in the direction it did.
Right.
So the only way I can create safety is kind of the same, going back through human history, 40,000 years of human history, is by being the most dangerous guy in the room. I need to make sure that my tribe is safer. My tribe has more opportunity. And you know what? If the threat's coming from within the tribe, I need to cut that person out. I need to be willing to fire the bad actor. I need to be willing to recondition bad actors if they're not doing it on purpose. Or I need to be willing to go and take market share from my competitors. Like you have 1,500 coaching clients, okay? How many of them would love to be the only apartment syndicator or investor in the country? Probably all of them, because they'd immediately be billionaire, right?
Right.
Well, there's only so much market. The market's only so big. Like, you're not going to go create a new market, which means all of your competitors are coming at you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, wanting your market share. So you have to be dangerous enough to defend your territory like a pride of lions and dangerous enough to take some every now and then as you improve your model. You have to be dangerous.
No, nice. Great explanation. Love it. Yeah,
What's the most dangerous part of the spear? The tip, right?
Love it.
You know, and where's the tip? Out in front of everybody that's behind me. So I'm protecting everyone behind me by being dangerous out front.
Love it. So you're obviously very successful. You told me you got 2 planes. Talk about, everybody thinks that it's a straight line and easy to get to success, but talk about some early failures that may have, set you up for success later in life. If anything comes to mind, a big one, doozy.
My biggest failure, which is what I don't want people to, like my story in the beginning, if love is the meaning of life, if you're not spending time with your loved ones, or if you have something that's consuming you, I did not spend the time I needed to with my dad. Now that has set me up for success with spending far more time with my wife and my kids and all of my loved ones now. So that biggest failure was f***ing that one up. But I wouldn't be the man I am today, so I'm grateful for it. Number 2, hiring. Biggest early failure. I hired my wife's childhood best friend, and he ran accounting for a property management company I owned. And I didn't understand accounting, and I did hiring. Now I know a lot about hiring and a lot about accounting because he walked out with $250,000. And if you're waiting for the police to arrest somebody, man, if you don't understand accounting, the financial crimes detectives aren't going to listen to you very much because he cooked my books so well that, I just became $250,000 shy.
Well, you beat me. I had somebody take $100,000 out of a management company I owned in Memphis, and she even wrote, signed a confession, and they still didn't go after her.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, let me ask you this: what do you think is the most? We have a lot of analytical people that listen, and you're obviously very analytical as well, but you're very outgoing, even more so. But
you know what? Can I hit that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Can I hit that?
Yeah.
Because I am a introvert.
You are.
I am an extreme introvert. People don't understand introvert and extrovert.
Interesting.
Okay? So the only difference between introvert and extrovert, we're humans. We love people. All people love people. Like introverts love people too. If I'm around people, like when I'm done with this podcast, I'm going to be exhausted because people exhaust me. Okay? Doesn't mean I can't learn people like a skill.
Right.
I can get on stage. I can do the dog and pony show. I was the events with Tony, the same as you. We all learned amazing things from that man. Right? But I'm exhausted afterwards. An extrovert gains energy from people.
Right.
If you are an introvert, if you are analytical and you're believing, the word belief comes from the words, its roots, be love. If you actually think that means you can't be charismatic and social, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You will never succeed. So you can learn extrovert for an hour. Anyone can.
Sure. And I will tell you, the introverted people are some of the most successful people in our business because they connect better. They because they're not looking over someone's shoulder to try to get to the next conversation. They have deeper connections, is what I've seen, and so that's no question. Now, so where I was going with that is I have a lot of analytical introverted people that have fear. They're afraid of failure. They fear failure, and I try to push them to embrace courage and action mitigates fear and so on and so forth. As it relates to you, you're an introvert. What do you think is one of the most courageous things you've ever done?
So I'm going to just tell you my opinion on fear right now.
Okay.
Find better shit to be scared of. Okay. If you think you have a lot to lose, if everything keeps going the way it's going now, you will have more to lose tomorrow. So at any point that you start later than today, you're going to have more to lose. Might as well start now. Okay. So at every point, you will have more to lose. Everybody's going to have fear. I am maybe one of the most scared people I know. And I don't think you can be a successful entrepreneur without having taken risks of failure. And at all points in time, I'm worried about something. If you're not fearful, you're an idiot. But I'm, and I don't necessarily like to bring religion in or anything like that, or faith or spirituality, but I'm going to just say this. It says in Proverbs that fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Every morning, I learned this from a mentor, and I've done it since. I know I can't make God love me more or less, but I can make him more or less pleased with me. So I fear not doing a good job there. And you know what? Now I don't have time to fear anything else. So if you know you're going to have it anyway, pick where you're going to put it. Okay. What if you created an algorithm for, I'm going to put my fear here. I'm so scared. And you don't have to use what I said. You don't have to use God. Use whatever you want. Like, I'm fear of judgment with my friends. I'm fear of my family. I'm fear of losing this. Whatever. But place it at a higher level. If the higher level fears pay you more.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Are there any, you're very motivated. Again, you spend a lot of time with Tony Robbins like I did. Are there any favorite quotes that you have that you're very driven? Is there any phrases or quotes that help drive you and push you and propel you to continue to do more things? You've got all these different businesses. Any quotes come to mind?
There's things I live by, and I mean, I love quotes. I think all of us do, but there's things I live by.
Okay. One
thing I live by, and maybe it's a quote, maybe it's just a saying, or maybe, I don't know. We all think possession is about ownership, and we are dead fucking wrong.
Okay. Explain.
Possession is about responsibility. Possession begets responsibility, and responsibility begets ownership. We live in a world where we want possession, but not responsibility. We're missing steps on a staircase.
Interesting.
And we fall right in the middle where we're lost. And I love words because words have meaning, and meaning is so powerful. We all think about possession. And when we go watch a good movie on Netflix about possession, there's normally an exorcist. Well, what possesses most people? It's a thought. Some thought or idea is what possesses or consumes most people and holds them back and causes fear.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, even if we go back, and I'm a nerd, so pardon me, but, if I take off this jacket, I'm giant head, tiny shoulders. I look like fucking Bobby's World, right? But I think too much. If we go back and we study ancient Aramaic, do you know what the word Satan means? Crazy thought. So when you go look at that and you're like, Satan means crazy thought. So if we go read that biblical story, Christ doing a fast, 40 days, 40 nights. Here comes Satan. Why not turn this stone into bread? Get behind me, crazy thought. Get behind me, Satan. What are you possessed by? Your possession, which is what you're chasing, the goods, the things that you want to own, beget responsibility. The moment nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. You know what? If I want to own a building, I should care about the fucking building. That's the baby that I decided to raise. Those are the diapers I decided to change. That will make my customers, my investors that brought me money, far more money than the guy that didn't care.
Yeah.
Than the guy that was chasing the next deal. So possession begets responsibility. Ownership begets responsibility. And that begets possession. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's and that's whatever, people feel like they want the possessions, the cars, the houses, the planes, the yachts, and all that. But that's a very interesting way to look at it. So you believe in mentors. There's no question.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So for a business, for a wannabe entrepreneur, and everybody that listens to this show is a wannabe entrepreneur. I mean, you take off your employee hat, you put on your entrepreneur hat when you get into multifamily or any business for that matter. What sort of training or education has helped you the most, and would you suggest for someone that knows they need to go change their life, knows they need to, make something happen for themselves and their families to create freedom or whatever their definition of success is? Any suggestions?
So I want to make sure I understand your question fully. Like, what sort of training helped me the most? Is that?
Yeah. Well, as a general global framework, are there any areas of your life that you got training or mentorship on that you feel like helped you more than another?
Okay, you know what? Yes, and we can go into mentors and how I think you should find them, and I'm glad everybody's listening to you, because if they're looking at apartments, they should find you too, because you qualify for this. But let me give you a framework for investing, okay? Because this made me filthy fucking rich, and I recommend it to everyone. So first thing you invest in, you fill them like buckets, right? Once the bucket starts overflowing, you move to the next bucket, but do not move to the next bucket until you hit the last
fill the
bucket
first one. Right.
So each bucket should really pour into the next bucket, if that makes sense. One, your mindset, heart set, skill set. So you got to invest in you. I don't care if it's reading a book. I don't care if it's hiring a mentor. I don't care what it is.
Mindset.
But you need to put mindset, heart set, skill set, kind of those three things where you are paying.
Is that one bucket?
That's one bucket.
Mindset, heart set, skill set.
That is bucket one.
Okay.
Two, your business.
Okay.
Why? Because it's your automation vehicle.
You got to pick your vehicle, basically.
It's your vehicle. Yeah, and I don't care if you have one business or 100 businesses. Like I have a McLaren, I have a Corvette, I have a couple airplanes. There's lots of vehicles.
Right.
Nothing wrong with owning multiple.
No, we're talking business vehicle here, though.
Correct. Right. Business vehicle. Like whether it's a home building company, whether it's an apartment syndication business, doesn't matter.
Right.
Your business.
Okay.
And if you need a new employee, but you're like, man, I better go buy Bitcoin. Stop.
Right.
get the new employee, get the new software, get the new...
Focus on the vehicle, the business.
That's 2, yeah.
Okay.
3, real estate. And the reason I say real estate, because I'm going to get a lot of people that disagree with me on that, and so I'm going to clarify it. There's only 3 types of investments, okay? And I'm a psychologist and an economist by trade, okay? There are tax hedge investments, there are cash flow investments, okay? And there are inflation hedge investments. Real estate hits all three.
Yeah.
If you go to gold, you're not going to hit cash flow, okay?
Right.
That is the one that hits all 3. That is just that perfect magic.
There's a reason 90% of the world's millionaires either did it in real estate or put their money in real estate. So I'm in complete agreement.
And you're not big enough to open a bank yet.
Thank you.
Real estate.
So 4.
Next one after real estate.
Yep.
Tax hedges.
Okay.
Okay. And when I say tax hedges, normally if you've done the first 3 right, there's tax hedges within your
in real
opportunity.
estate. I don't pay
if you're not
taxes,
doing accelerated depreciation in your real estate, which might cost you a little extra money with your accountant, you are an idiot.
Right. Cost segregation. Yeah.
If you're not looking at, like, there's, I needed to get rid of $1.5 million of income, and there's a way you can go and spend. It's $100,000 buying land that you're going to donate to an oil company. I can have my family office tell you about it. It's amazing. But each $100,000 turns into $500,000 of money you write off.
Wow.
And you still make a small return on it. It's fucking nuts. Like, there are so many. You got to understand at a certain level that politicians don't care about you. They care about fucking votes. And the way that they're going to get votes is by getting enough money to advertise for the votes. And the way that they get the money is by going to the millionaires, billionaires, and corporate funds and trusts and everything else out there. And they put under the table shit in there. So if you learn how to read that, then you can do it too. You don't have to be a billionaire to do it. Anyone can do it. So that's number 4. And they're normally associated in the first 3. Number 5, other shit.
Other shit.
Other shit.
That's technical.
That is technical. Why?
Okay.
Because, like, everybody's going to, and you're going to get people on here, oh, well, Bitcoin, oh, well, Ethereum. Okay, well, that's like the dot-com boom of the 90s. We don't know who the winners are. We don't know who the losers are.
Right.
Yes, Bitcoin's on a run today while we're talking. Next week, it might be down. Right. Okay? Yes, this company's doing well. You can read a balance sheet, but the public markets are more opinion than they are actuals. I've seen companies with good fundamentals go down because of a Twitter comment. That's stupid.
Right.
That's not how you get value. Like, we got to understand most investments. And if we start listing,
so you're talking about investments basically on when you say other shit. Pick other vehicles. Other vehicles.
Other investment vehicles.
Gotcha.
Correct.
All right. What's 6?
That's it. There's only 5.
Oh, there was 5. Those are great, man. I really like those a lot. Okay. That really resonates with me. Start with mindset, heart set, skill set. Pick a business, pick your vehicle. Once that business is successful and overflowing, you get into real estate. Duh. That's just about anybody that's super successful does that. Then you're looking to save money on the income you're making from your previous investments through tax hedges, and then you're looking for other stuff to do because it's fun. Because it's fun. I love it. Well, listen, brother, this has been a lot of fun, Preston. I know some of the listeners have had a hard time keeping up with you, because if I have a hard time keeping up with you, I promise you, as your brain moves very, very quickly. But, I got some really good nuggets here, and I really appreciate you coming down to be on the show, brother.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, man. Yeah. You're the only guy I've ever flown across the country to be on a podcast.
No kidding. I didn't know you flew here. Wow. Thank you for that, brother. Well, this has been enlightening, but I really appreciate you coming in. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more, in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345. Or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.